Welcome to the SBI Podcast, offering CEOs, sales and marketing leaders ideas to make the number.
Welcome, SBI Podcast listeners and video podcast viewers. My name is Greg Alexander, and I am the CEO of SBI, a sales and marketing consulting firm dedicated to helping you make your number. This is the weekly SBI podcast, and its purpose is to help you make your number by getting your peers to share with you how they make theirs. Today's guest is Clint Poole, and he is the Vice President of Marketing for Lionbridge Technologies, the leader in translation services. Clint's been with the company for 3 years and is responsible for driving demand for the company's new solution offerings via a multi-channel demand generation program. Clint has 20 years of business experience, all in B2B marketing, highlighted with a stint at executive search giant Korn Ferry, where he ran the global marketing team. Clint, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Okay. The topic for today is aligning the marketing strategy with the sales strategy. We're going to use a section of SBI's revenue growth methodology to guide our conversation, specifically step 4, called marketing strategy, which can be found on pages 111 to 152. This will bring structure to our conversation, allowing for maximum audience learning. If you want to follow along at home, download a copy of our methodology at salesbenchmarkindex.com/2016 report. All right, the first step in our marketing strategy framework is titled planning, and it contains 4 phases. Phase 1 is brand planning. Phase 2 is campaign planning. Phase 3 is budget planning. And lastly, phase 4 is data planning. Let's take them one at a time. So first up is brand planning. And I'm going to ask Clint to share with us the output of this and how he uses brand planning. So Clint, what is your brand promise to your customers, and how do you work with sales to make sure this is communicated in every single customer interaction?
Sure. Lionbridge is the world's largest translation and content production company. Our focus is helping global brands connect with customers across markets. So the brand promise itself is that Lionbridge helps clients get personal on a global scale. And, we're uniquely positioned to deliver on this promise in 3 ways. Our focus on language expertise, which is our heritage, a flexible approach to technology where we can work within a customer's ecosystem, and then having a global production model so we can use a follow-the-sun delivery system to meet any deadline and to drive efficiency in a business process. So that's the brand promise. And that entire brand story is obviously delivered as part of our capabilities presentation in every corporate PowerPoint, right? But just putting it into a presentation doesn't enable the sales organization to effectively deliver. That's a classic marketing mistake, right? Where you deliver or design something and throw it over the wall for distribution. So we've taken a different approach here at Lionbridge in partnership with sales and our sales ops team. We agreed on a platform that made sense. We use a thing called Power Messaging. It's a framework from Corporate Visions, and we developed a unique way to tell that brand story in a more engaging format, and built out 3 sort of subset stories for the 3 differentiators. And then put the sales team through a training process and use a platform that ensured that every sales rep gave a virtual presentation and was scored in that presentation by their sales leader, their sales manager. So it wasn't just distributing the content, having it embedded in the brand messaging. We actually partnered on a training program to give the reps the opportunity to practice, deliver, and be certified to sell and deliver the brand message. And then obviously, there's product offerings aligned with each of those value proposition, and that's where your product marketing content and your sales enablement efforts are about taking the conversation down from the conceptual, which is what a capabilities and brand presentation is, to a solution level, which is what customers are looking for. And again, in partnership with the sales ops team, there's ongoing training modules to ensure that everybody knows how to use the tools. So we built the brand message, we built the tools and embedded the brand message in the tools that are required for the different levels of customer conversation, and then partnered with the sales ops organization on the training. And really, that's the most essential piece.
I love it. I mean, I asked you what your brand promise was and how do you make sure that with each customer interaction it's stated very well. So you have a platform from Corporate Visions, and I love those guys. Power Messaging is fantastic. Joe Terry, their CEO, is a pioneer in our industry. But you didn't just stop there, which a lot of times marketing organizations do. And today's topic is integrating marketing and sales strategy. You partnered with sales ops, trained everybody on them. They had to take a test. You drove the execution of it, which is just fantastic and something for the rest of our marketing listeners and watchers and readers to follow. Let me go to the second step, which is campaign planning, which builds off of that. So can you describe for us your campaign planning process and what role does sales play in it, if any?
Definitely. And this is where my, personal experience and the experience of, my team leaders comes into play, because 20 years in B2B marketing, I've had a lot of failures on the campaign planning side, and they always pointed back to not having the right inputs from the field or having the right alignment with customers. So engaging the sales team in the process is essential for what we're doing here at Lionbridge. So we really, three, like everybody, we have three major buckets in the campaign planning. So there's planning, there's a design phase, and then there's the execution phase. And it's really the planning and execution phases where the sales team gets involved. So under the planning, the first step for us is audience segmentation analysis. So who are we targeting? And this is, immediate opportunity for our alignment with sales. One, the sales organization here is aligned into verticals and market teams, so that helps make a decision immediately, right? Segment the audiences that way. Partner with those specific teams to get their insights regarding what offerings and products are most relevant to the buying audience today. What are they hearing? What are they having success with? What are the trends? Right from the get-go, right in the audience segmentation analysis and the offering product alignment phases, which are part of the planning phase. Right, we want to hear what buyers are responding to today, so we can avoid any misses right out of the gate. And then the third subset under the planning phase is the identification of the personas. Now we have, a variety of corporate level personas that have been built, even some regional level personas. We want to make sure that we have the right level persona and the insights within those documented personas and buying process maps. And if not, if the sales organization is telling us, look, there's a new buyer in this segment that my team is targeting, we'll have to go build those out immediately, because that goes into the design phase. So the planning phase sales is giving us the front line perspective as to what's working, what people are interested in, who we're selling to, and we adjust accordingly. The design phase is highly marketing driven. It's where we do the messaging and offering development. We create content. We set aside the budget and identify the right investments based on the persona, right? What are their preferences? What are their watering holes? And then we start the execution. So the design phase is, that's a marketing competency, and it tends to be done, within the marketing organization. But when we get to execution, that's where we start to re-engage with the sales team. I saw a stat recently from McKinsey that 70% of campaigns by the best marketers are realigned after launch within 30 days, because that's exactly what happens. You make all these assumptions in planning, even with the right field feedback. You go to market, and some buyers respond, some don't, and some of your assumptions were correct and some were not. By having a tight connection with the sales team and getting feedback from the sales meetings they're having, or the qualification conversations with the leads that are assigned to them as a result of the campaign, you can very quickly identify what's working. Is the offer working? Is the message working? Is the content right? And what's not working, and readjust accordingly, because that's how we built the planning phases. We're trying to be agile, because we know when we get into execution, we're going to make some adjustments. And it's the reps who are having the conversations, who are dealing with the leads, who can tell you what needs to be adjusted. It's not something I think a campaign manager could ever identify, because you're not out in the field.
Yeah. So I love the answer. I mean, you got a 3-step campaign planning process. 2 of the 3 steps, sales is intimately engaged. The design phase, the planning phase and the execution phase, which is fantastic. I would challenge my audience, and we have a pretty broad CMO audience. And sometimes they develop their campaigns in a silo and they never even talk to sales. So it's so great to hear you including sales in that process. Yep. Let me move on to the budget. So how do you determine the marketing budget, and how do you make sure sales helps you generate a return on each marketing dollar spent?
The way that our marketing budget is structured here, there's 3 components to it, programs, technology, and of course the people, the headcount infrastructure of the organization. And within the programs, there's 2 sub-segments. There are marketing activities and investments that are just about driving brand and customer engagement. A lot of the digital marketing, the content marketing, PR, traditional marcom activities that indirectly influence pipe but don't drive pipe. And we use, a planning process based on industry benchmarking to arrive at those numbers and also a little bit of a bottoms up. But on the demand generation budgets, we work directly from the calculations are based on the revenue targets for each sales team. And we use a calculation based on our current and expected marketing performance. So meaning the funnel movement, right? We measure how many inquiries end up being closed deals and all the stages in between and the conversion rates through the funnel. And we can identify then the raw number of leads that are required to get the target number of deals based on the deal size for each sales organization, and then you can multiply that by the cost per lead, and that's how we arrive at the targeted budgeting dollar. But it starts with it starts with the sales teams, the different ways that we're organized here, and markets or regions or verticals, and understanding what their growth targets are. And we know what it takes to go from inquiry to closed deal, and then we try to get the budget that matches that.
Yeah.
But you're trying to help a sales organization drive their revenue, and there's a percentage of that revenue that is going to come from marketing. So, you need their numbers first.
Yeah, fantastic example. It's a great lead-in until phase 4, which is data planning. So, what's the marketing team's data architecture, and how is it integrated with the sales team's data architecture? I mean, you just showed me that you've got an integrated funnel, which is really what I was after. Is there anything else you're doing data-wise that is a connection point between your marketing team and the sales team?
Really a shared perspective on keeping the data clean. And that is like rule number 1 here at Lionbridge. Like a lot of B2B organizations, we have 2 systems where we manage the data: marketing automation, which we use Marketo, and CRM, which we use Salesforce.com, like so many enterprises. And marketing manages the raw prospect databases outside of the CRM to keep the CRM clean. And the customer data does not get synced until we reach the MQL stage. And then we have a data policy for a period of time without conversion to get it out of the system. And we have source data from data vendors for campaigns. And again, we keep that in the marketing automation system. We try to keep the data within the CRM system, which is 75% used by sales and 25% by marketing. Try to keep it very, very clean, because when you're a rep managing a territory, you're working with the volumes of data, and every bad piece of data just negatively impacts your ability to manage your lead pool and even your customer pool eventually. So that's how the data architecture is aligned, and it's just part of the shared principle here of keeping everything clean. Yeah,
I love the focus on keeping it clean, because so many of our clients suffer from dirty data, and you guys have solved that problem by separating it across marketing automation and CRM. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go away, because when we come back, I'm going to ask Clint to discuss step 2 and step 3 of our marketing strategy framework, which deals with engaging customers and the modern marketing org chart. So don't go anywhere.
Making your number is hard. Your problems are complex. Complex problems need complex solutions. Introducing the SBI Magazine. Read in-depth stories written by award-winning journalists about how your peers have overcome their problems to make the numbers. When you need more than a tweet, social post, or blog article, turn to the SBI Magazine. Go to salesbenchmarkindex.com to subscribe.
Welcome back. My name is Greg Alexander, and I'm the CEO of SBI. My guest today is Clint Poole, the Vice President of Marketing at Lionbridge Technologies. And today we are discussing how to align the marketing strategy to the sales strategy, and we're using SBI's marketing strategy framework to do it, specifically pages 111 and 152 of our workbook titled How to Make Your Number in 2016. If you want a copy of that, go to sbi.com, salesbenchmarkindex.com /2016 report if you want to follow along. Before the break, Clint shared with us how he drives the brand promise into every customer interaction. There was a lot of innovation there as to how he does it, how he plans campaigns, how he works with sales to generate a return on every marketing dollar spent, and how he uses data-driven decision-making to develop his marketing strategy by keeping the data clean between Marketo and Salesforce, which is awesome. During this segment, we're going to hear from Clint how he works with sales to engage with customers and prospects in a differentiated way, and how he organized his marketing team to execute his marketing strategy. If you are following along at home, this is phases 5 through 9 of our marketing strategy framework. So let's take them one at a time. Phase 5, content process. So Clint, how does your team generate demand generation content as well as sales enablement content? And then more importantly, how do you make sure the sales team uses it?
Like a lot of marketing organizations, we have several sub-functions within the team who create content, and then the trap with that is often they could have a unique lens, right? So you have a product marketing team that creates bottom-of-the-funnel content for sales enablement. You have Marcom who's doing PR, thinking at the brand level. Even content marketing who's trying to create content to engage people online. And the trap can be, if they're not unified against a lens through which the content voice and what you're trying to accomplish with all of the messaging, if that's not unified, they become sort of disconnected. And when a sales rep goes to use all the different tools at their disposal, that can show up in front of a customer. So the first thing we do is connect them against the buyer personas and the buyer process maps. So regardless of what sub-function you're in, when you're creating content, everyone starts with the personas, the key messaging points that we've created for the inflection points that they have in the buyer process map. And that way, if I'm in product marketing and I'm creating bottom-of-the-funnel content, like the case studies, ROI tools, proof of concept stuff, or if I'm on the content marketing team, creating stuff for digital channels, it all looks and sounds the same. So that's the key. The primary driver of success. So that's really where you have to start, because you have these different folks creating different pieces of content. It gets fragmented sometimes. How we make sure that it gets into the hands of the sales team is something I already referenced, is that partnership with our sales operations team. You know, they manage the third-party SaaS platform for our sales enablement. It's where the marketing content goes, the product content goes, and other resources that sales ops and sales leadership are using, right? So as a rep, that's my primary point of contact for all information. And as such, the sales ops team has streamlined a content distribution process, and we work through them to make sure that we're compliant and that the SaaS platform, which we're currently using, Savo, is the single point of contact for a rep, right? We try to avoid direct distribution of content and direct emails and anything that's out of that system, because that just becomes confusing. So going through the sales ops team and having a consistent lens on the type of content we're producing has really been, key drivers of our success.
Yeah, that's a fantastic answer. Listeners and watchers, if you're having a hard time getting your sales team to use your content, map it to the buying process map it to personas, and tie it to the top, middle, and bottom of the funnel, and watch how quickly they start using it, which is exactly what Clint is doing with his partnership with Sales Ops. All right, let's move on to phase 6, campaign process. So earlier we heard how you plan campaigns. Tell the audience how you execute the process by distributing leads to the sales team.
Over the past year, we really have reconfigured this lead distribution process, actually. We're focused on making sure we're only distributing sales-ready leads, like SQLs, truly sales-ready leads. And, we're reducing the volume, but you're increasing the quality. And for our type of business, that makes sense, right? We're an enterprise that sells complex solutions, so it's about high touch with high revenue thresholds. It's not about volume. And that may be different for other organizations, but that's how we're structured in the type of sales process that we're managing against. Mm-hmm. So leads, are qualified by achieving a certain scoring threshold, but we don't overly automate that process, because that's how misscored leads get through in an environment where you're only relying on your marketing automation. We invested in a lead development rep team, a team of LDRs here and in the UK, who are the interim human step during the nurturing process. So this team is managing the high-scored MQLs and doing outreach, like an inside sales organization, to ensure that those high scored MQLs are indeed sales ready, doing the BANT type criteria, having consultative conversations, gathering information to know when they're really sales ready, and getting intel that goes into the lead record that helps a rep when they reach out for that first touch point with the qualified lead. Because you can't automate the lead scoring process. I think that's where a lot of marketing organizations have failed in the last 5 years when we've adopted marketing automation. The lead score model is so flawed that you have to have a human step. And you have to have people who are not compensated to try to close leads. They're compensated to have the conversations, consultative conversations, to find out who's really sales ready, provide a good brand overview of the company, our value proposition, and start to introduce them to the different product suites so they can get the right intel to put in the hands of the rep when the lead is qualified. But it's a human process. You can't automate it.
Yeah.
So that's how we're doing it today.
So I agree with you. So that was a great answer for your campaign process and distributing leads, but you also answered my question regarding phase 7, which is the lead management process, which is how does your team nurture leads that are not quite ready for the sales team? And you bring up something that's so obvious, but for some reason people just are not embracing it, which is the human element. So for those of you that are listening or watching, if you've invested in marketing automation and you have not invested in a lead development team, you're getting a fraction of the value from that. It's been proven time and time again, at least in enterprise B2B marketing organizations, that a human has to enter the equation. If you think you can do it just through automating the technology system, believe me, it's not going to work for you. It hasn't worked for a lot of people. So really embrace this concept of the LDR. All right, let's move on to phase 8, organizational design. Can you explain your marketing team's org chart and how this model is integrated with the sales team's organizational model?
Yeah, we look like many modern marketing organizations. We're separated into major subunits: brand and marcom team, demand gen team, customer marketing team, marketing ops, digital and content and product, and solution marketing. The integration happens with the demand generation and the customer marketing teams. The demand gen teams who build and manage acquisition campaigns are substructured in alignment with how the sales team is substructured. So they're aligned. There's resources responsible for the end markets that the sales teams are aligned against. So you have someone who builds and runs campaigns for the life sciences sector for the life sciences sales team. So that's how the demand gen team is structured to look like the sales organization, which of course looks like our corporate strategy. And then the customer marketing team who runs the account-based marketing programs are aligned with the major accounts. Like most B2B services companies, we have a small number of high-value customers, very large enterprises that provide a high potential for cross-sell and upsell programs. So the customer marketing team is aligned with the major accounts. So the program managers under customer marketing are assigned to the major accounts and put together the ABM programs for those major accounts. So those are the two subcomponents of the marketing organization that align with sales, and we just map out their org design because their org design is matched against our corporate strategy.
So here's a simple exercise for the audience. Take your marketing org chart and put it on the table. Print it out, put it on the table. Take your sales org chart, print it out, and put it on the table. Do they look like each other? For example, if you have a key account team, as Lionbridge does, do you have a customer marketing team? Yes or no? If you have a key account team and you don't have a customer marketing team, then you're not implementing an account-based marketing, and you're off spec. It's not going to work. So we're trying to integrate marketing and sales, and we can go both directions there. Make sure your org charts line up with each other at the critical points of integration, like demand generation, like customer marketing. Yes, there are parts of the marketing org chart that don't line up, and they shouldn't. But there are key integration points that have to line up, and remove the friction between marketing and sales by making these org charts integrate and look like each other. All right, let's go to the last phase in this section, which is phase 9, agency management. So do you use agencies to extend the capabilities of your internal team? And if so, are those reflected on your org chart?
Great question. We absolutely use a variety of agencies to extend the capabilities of the team, and they're not reflected on the org chart simply because the type of agencies we're using are for what I would consider back office capabilities and back office tasks and programs. And I don't ever want to communicate to the org anyone in the org, from product to sales, that I'm outsourcing a critical function. So the most important pieces of marketing, product content, brand messaging, campaign design, we don't outsource that. It's more the back end type of activities, creative design, PPC management, really sort of marketing activity, capabilities versus strategic capabilities.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Makes sense. So the strategic capability, obviously, you keep in-house. The non-strategic stuff, you might outsource that, and that makes a lot of sense. All right, we're going to take a short break, and when we return, we're going to discuss the last two steps, Step 4, execution, and Step 5, support. So stick around after the break.
Each day, you receive hundreds of emails, tons of text messages, countless telephone calls, and sit in too many meetings. How do you find ideas to make the number with all this noise? The SBI blog filters all this nonsense for you and presents only first-rate ideas to make the number. Simplify your life. Subscribe to one blog and read the best content. Go to salesbenchmarkindex.com and subscribe today.
Okay, welcome back. My name is Greg Alexander, and I'm the CEO of SBI. My guest today is Clint Poole, the Vice President of Marketing at Lionbridge Technologies. Today, we are discussing how to align the marketing strategy to the sales strategy, and we're using SBI's marketing strategy framework to do it, specifically pages 111 and 152, which you can find at salesbenchmarkindex.com/2016 report. Before the break, Clint and I spoke about steps 3 and 4, phases 5 through 9 in our process. During this segment, we're going to bring it home. And we're going to hear from Clint his interpretation of the last two steps, which are 4 and 5, phases 10 through 16. So let's tackle one at a time here. So, Clint, we're now on to product marketing, phase 10. So how does product marketing enable sales to be successful, specifically with compelling value propositions as well as positioning statements?
At the top of the session, we talked about how we create the different levels of content that reflect the value proposition and the brand messaging. And the product marketing team are the ones responsible for creating the materials as well as providing the insights for the post-lead qualification type of content. So what sales is going to use in the sales conversations. They're responsible for developing customer insights via the persona work that we do and the buyer process maps, as well as market insights about trends and pain points, and producing battle cards against each persona and offering that is the tool that our sales reps can use to have quality conversations with their prospects and to show up with insights and be prepared to have a conversation that connects our offerings to the challenges that the personas they're selling to are having today. So that's really where they're taking the brand messaging and the buyer personas and putting them into a tactical application tool is in the form of a battle card. I mean, that's probably the most key role that our product marketing resources are playing today.
Yeah, it's a great tool. Battle card. Think about it. You're trying to make your sales force battle ready. They're going to go talk to a customer, going to try to win a piece of business. They're going to try to beat the bad guys. Asking them to read through a 50-page document, good luck. Summarizing that into a battle card that can be used at the moment in truth, that's a winning best practice. Just go to Google and type in B2B marketing battle cards, and you'll find all kinds of examples of great ones there. All right, let's move on to phase 11, content production. So how does your content process get converted into the actual production of content, text, audio, video, so your sales team has something to use in the field? Are you guys producing this internally, or the content, is this something that you would classify as a back office function and you outsource that?
Well, this is where working at Lionbridge is a benefit because we offer creative production as a service. So the marketing team gets to use a mix of internal and external resources to execute on this. And we make those decisions based on content type and turnaround time and cost. But we produce a lot of this in-house via our own internal capabilities, which gives them an opportunity, our production resources, to practice on their own marketing organization on the types of content and content formats that our customers are going to ask them to produce. We do use 2 external agencies for the overflow work, but we're very fortunate to have these internal resources. And then when it comes to time for distribution, as I said before, it goes right through the sales ops team in that distribution process that they've created.
Yeah, shame on me. I forgot that you actually do this for your clients. So it makes perfect sense that you do it internally. If you didn't, I'd be asking a different set of questions right now. All right, let's move on to phase 12, campaign execution. So what role does sales play in executing the marketing campaigns? Like, do they do anything during the execution stage? You run a campaign, it's hitting your target audience. What do you want sales to do at that moment?
Yeah, it's really that field feedback in the early stages of the campaign execution right after launch, because we know that some of the assumptions were right, some of the assumptions are wrong, and we really want to realign what we're using as quickly as possible, because we're planning campaigns that run from 4 to 6 months, once you include the nurturing aspects. So getting that early stage feedback on the messaging and the offer and the content, as well as the targets, so we can readjust, is essential. So really up front is where we look for them to play that role, and then when the campaign winds down and we put a cap on it, that post-mortem to get that final feedback for key learnings so we can help shape the next campaign planning process and learn from what didn't work well, so we can move forward and not make the same mistakes twice.
Yeah, I love the closed loop process, right? Because the sales team is following up on all the leads that were created from the campaign, and they can tell you if they were good or bad, what we missed, what we didn't miss. It's just great to close that loop, which takes us to the next step. Earlier we heard from you on how you're nurturing leads. And because your business is a classic enterprise business where it's about quality, not quantity, once somebody does make it through your qualification process and it's a legitimate lead, and you send it to sales, what is sales? How do they follow up?
We're really dependent on the sales leadership here to enforce the SLAs. We've agreed on a set period of time that a rep has to follow up on a lead, and it has to be recorded in the CRM. So they have to, and the follow-up has to be a live connect. It can't just be an email and a voicemail swing and a miss. And there's rules that there's a period of time that they have to even to complete that follow-up, or the sales leaders will reassign to another rep. They create a little sense of competition, and they will do that, which we love, right? I mean, if it gets to the sales ready stage, it should be taken seriously. So that's the type of behavior that we have here, and we're really dependent on the sales leadership to do that. And then we even have other SLAs that if there's a specific period of time where there's no conversion, that marketing takes it back and puts it in the engagement tracks, because most likely it wasn't sales ready, and that's fine. And there's post-mortem activities that are put in place to find out why, and try to fix that part of the lead scoring lead qualification phase. So we're really dependent on the sales leadership here, but that's the type of behavior. We have these SLAs. We're looking for a live connect. It has to be recorded in the CRM, and there's a retribution if you don't comply.
Yeah. And when the marketing and the sales team is so integrated as yours is, no leads ever fall through the cracks, so that's great. All right, let me ask you about field marketing. Field marketing, they got a tough job. They're sandwiched between corporate marketing and the sales team. Do you guys deploy field marketing, and what's their role?
We do, and the way that we're structured, our field marketers are really geographically based. They're in global markets. So North America is highly centralized. So in that role, they're doing the traditional field activities of identifying what content and programs coming from HQ, from corporate, are applicable, and if so, managing the localization process and the execution process. And then they're identifying what doesn't work and making sure that doesn't make its way into market and waste anyone's time. And then they're identifying and executing on local-only programs like events and campaigns, and the creation of content that only matters to that market.
Yep.
It's geographic market, Germany, UK, et cetera.
Yep. And
then they're providing that in-market feedback regarding how does our brand show up, how have our offerings show up, which gives us input for our global strategic planning processes.
Yep. Okay. Fantastic. All right, and then the last two things here are marketing ops and technology. So do you have somebody staffed in the role of marketing ops, and are they integrated with sales ops? And then you mentioned earlier your tech systems, which is marketing automation, and how that is and is not integrated with CRM. But I wanted to ask you if there are any other technology tools that you're using. So do you have a marketing ops person?
We do. We have 2 marketing ops resources And it's a partnership with the sales ops resources and the CRM management resources under sales ops. We don't make a lot of unilateral decisions in marketing ops. We have a joint ownership of the lead management process and the customer data. These guys even sit in the same area in our HQ, which is good. So that we're not making a lot of decisions on our own. We would never do that in marketing because we understand that this data and this process flows not only into the CRM system, but into sales hands, right? And so you can hear the theme here. We're trying to avoid wasting anyone's time. We're trying to maximize our efficiency. So they're tied at the hip. They sit in the same area. We're using the systems we mentioned, but we also even invested in the same reporting tool. It's a BI tool called Good Data that sits across CRM, marketing automation, and on the marketing side sits across Google Analytics. So for our funnel analysis, both sales ops and marketing ops are using the same BI tool, even though we have different tendencies and different views.
Awesome. I love the fact that they're physically in the same location. That's fantastic. That will foster collaboration. All right, we're going to take one last break. When we come back, Clint and I will discuss an action plan to put all this great advice to work. So the takeaway value, as they call it, is right after the break. So hang in there for just a few more minutes.
Do you have too many things to do and not enough time to do them? Is finding time to learn best practices almost impossible? The SBI Podcast is your solution. Turn time spent exercising, commuting, and traveling into productive learning time with a subscription to the SBI Podcast. SBI Podcast listeners get unique insight into real-world sales and marketing issues through interviews with your industry peers every week. Find us on iTunes by searching for Sales Benchmark Index Podcast and subscribe today.
Welcome back, everybody. Clint, let's put a nice bow in this. If you got hired by a large enterprise business tomorrow and your mandate was to align the marketing strategy with the sales strategy, what would be the first few things that you would do?
Well, the first thing is always to develop a shared language and a shared set of SLAs. So let's make sure that we're using the same words to mean the same thing. So define what is a lead, what is a qualified lead, what does that look like? A lot of times you make assumptions that you're saying the same thing and you're not. And what are the SLAs for response time? What happens after X amount of time? Put all those rules of engagement in place. What is a campaign? What commitments on the pipeline contribution? So define the same set of language. Know what you mean by lead, by campaign, by pipeline contribution, and set the SLAs and what you're committing to. So everyone knows what the measurements are and everyone knows what the benchmarks are. That's the first thing. That's the foundational rule of engagement. The second thing any marketing leader should do is look at the lead management process and fix anything that isn't working. And there you have to get both perspectives because this is the connection point between marketing and sales, that lead management process in B2B. And everyone's going to have a perspective on what's not working. You have to hear from both sides, and you have to get to the fundamental truth and make fixes immediately because it alleviates the pain of both sides. Frustrations on marketing on the campaign side for perceptions that it's being pushed to sales and not converting, perceptions and frustrations on the sales side that what's coming out of campaigns isn't working. You've got to fix the lead management process. You'll normally find areas for improvement no matter how mature it is. And then the third is, as a marketer, I would kill any program that sales doesn't find effective, even if marketing can make an argument. And the reason is it sends a message to both groups about your commitment to mutual success, right? And as a marketer, you can always rebuild the campaign, but if a sales organization isn't finding it effective and they're not finding that they're getting sales qualified leads from it, that perception really does outweigh the market perception on its success. So you come in and you kill anything that sales doesn't think is working just to send a message and to get everybody on the same page.
Yeah. 3 great, really tactical things to do and not easy things to do. Let's not confuse simple with easy. But yep. Awesome advice. All right, let me give you my 2 cents. What does all this mean to you, the audience? So aligning the marketing strategy to the sales strategy in a large business is hard to pull off. If you're attempting to do this, the key is a well-thought-out methodology. If you do this without a structured approach, like the one that Clint shared with us today, it's going to take you forever, and it will be done incorrectly. So I know we live in this instant gratification world, but slow down. Spend the time thinking through everything, and rely on a proven methodology to guide you through it. Today, we explained one such methodology, the SBI marketing strategy methodology, but it's not the only one out there. I mean, spend some time studying this topic and build your own playbook. There's lots of great resources out there. Here's a couple of immediate tactical things you can do. So I've referenced our report several times today. If you haven't downloaded it, you want to get a copy of the report. It's titled How to Make Your Number in 2016, and you can get it at salesbenchmarkindex.com/2016 report, and turn to the marketing strategy section, turn to the sales strategy section, and that'll get you off and running. If after you do that, you want some help applying what's in that workbook to your business, have one of our team members come out and put you through a workshop. They can apply these concepts uniquely to your business and probably save you a bunch of time in the process. Go to the same URL, salesbenchmarkindex.com/2016. In this case, use the word workshop, and you can request one of our teammates to come out. So Clint, it was very obvious to me as we went through this. I mean, I asked a lot of questions. I mean, each one of those questions could have been an episode in and of itself. And at each time, you were able to cite with great clarity and depth exactly how you're integrated with the sales team and how they're integrated with you. So congrats on doing something really hard and making it sound really simple.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. As you can imagine, it is not simple. It requires a lot of hard work, but it starts with us all being dedicated across marketing, sales, and sales ops to keep that alignment in place, and that's how we start our day.
Yeah, awesome. All right, I want to thank you, our audience, for tuning in. This show's become very popular, and with this popularity comes great guests like the one we had today. So thank you for tuning in, and I wish you much success as you try to make your number.
This has been the SBI Podcast. For more information on SBI services, case studies, the SBI team and how we work, or to subscribe to our other offerings, please visit us at salesbenchmarkindex.com.